It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to another episode of the Knicks Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Maggio, as always, joined by my co-host, Shaun. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah. Hey, bro. Hey, guys.
Beautiful day today, isn't it, Shaun?
Oh, what a lovely, remarkable, wondrous day.
What wondrous day, and could you tell the people maybe a little bit why that is?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's RJ Barrett Extension Day. This day will live forever as the day the Charlie Ward curse was broken and that RJ Barrett was truly established as Himothy in the land of the Mecca. And you know, I really couldn't be happier. Like we knew it the whole time. And it's just like, you know, the vindication is beautiful. And you know, we continue to stretch for our victory lap. And you know, we're gonna have to have our endurance up this year. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of victory lapping to be done this year.
Yeah, so it was beautiful news for me to wake up to. I'm very old, folks. This is no secret now. I'm very washed. I did not stay up to catch the RJ Barrett news last night, so I woke up to a smattering of tweets and texts and things like that that I should have seen the night before. But I did see that, you know, when I woke up, he was extended. It was for a ballpark figure of which I had, you know, me and Shaun had talked on this podcast before, but we always thought he was going to get, and that was pretty much exactly on the nose with what we had figured with that. And it actually ended up being a little bit less. So it seems like the official numbers via Shams were 170 million, 107 million over 4 years. And let's say, I'm sorry, got a little excited. 107 million over 4 years, I believe. And then there's incentives that could bring it up to 120 million or so in total. So I had always thought, Shaun had always kind of thought that Jaylen Brown sort of territory when he had got his first extension off his rookie deal. I think it was for like 125 million, if I'm not mistaken. And we just sort of figured.
I think it was for 130. It was either for 115 or for 130.
So that's where we kind of always figured. We just sort of figured he had. I'm not going to, you know, try to put him in a box and say the same upside, but for the first 3 or so years, how those guys have sort of developed their all-around games kind of consistently. Every year you saw them kind of do something different or something way better. It just seemed like for that on the wing was kind of where he was going to end up getting paid. I know there's a lot of very silly and pointless discussions on Knicks Twitter these days. I try not to pay attention to a lot of it because it's just you go nowhere. You talk in circles. Like a big one this summer was fans were fighting about, is RJ Barrett worth the max? And if you didn't think he was worth the max, you didn't believe in his potential and whatever else it became about. And very silly stuff. Like I hope I could put all that to bed, you know, now, because it doesn't really matter if you think he has the potential of a max player, then that's great. He could play up to it now and play out of his current contract, right? And that we'd love to see that. Who wouldn't love a bargain deal, right? Everybody loves a bargain deal. I think for RJ, this gets him well into the 100 million, so he feels good about that. He feels like he got a pretty sizable payday. He's still very young. He's going to get out of this deal by the time he's 25 or so. And if he's
26.
playing 26, right? So if he's playing really well entering his prime, yeah, of course he's probably going to get a max deal, right? That's how it works. But it's not a disrespectful thing that he didn't get a max deal now or anything like that. That was always very silly. So this seems to be a very, to me, reasonable figure for him. I thought anything north of 100 million was probably going to be where he ended up at. So good to see him kind of get what we thought he would get. But more importantly, I feel like that's finally, you know, the Charlie Ward curse being broken. And finally, we have some consistency with, like, long-term consistency with a young talent. You know, I think we always thought Porzingis would have signed, you know, if it came down to it or whatever. But ultimately they ended up trading him, right? They didn't even invest in him there, which again, you know, bullet dodge. But this RJ thing feels very safe. I think fans have felt that. I think unanimously fans have felt on board with RJ. Even people that maybe had had reservations about him pre-draft, I think came around on him very, very quickly. You see how hard he works. You see how much he wants to get better, how much simply winning the game means to him, not just playing well. So just being able to see that day in and day out, 82 games a year, playoffs the second year, and see him improve over 3 seasons. I think fans were very, very excited about being able to lock in a player of his caliber with his mentality, somebody who's going to be here now, hopefully 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons and beyond. So it's good to see, the first extension get done and the Knicks really meaningfully pay and invest in their own talent that they drafted. It was nice.
Yeah, it was really nice because we haven't seen it literally. It was nice to see it with Mitch. That was kind of like a soft breaking of the Charlie Ward curse. But between RJ and Mitch having two young talents locked in like that, and there was a time where Lance Thomas was the longest tenured Knick. There was a time recently where Frank Ntilikina was the longest tenured Knick, and we didn't really have any continuity established. So it's just really nice to know that, man. And like you said, some of the conversations on Knicks Twitter have been disgusting. I feel like I've been pretty vocal about how disgusting they've been while trying to stay out of them. And I don't know. I don't know if it's changed. Like, I feel like I haven't been like Mr. Nice Positive guy because there's just been so much to be disgusted by. And I want to get away from that. So I need the season back for a lot of reasons. I need basketball to be back so people have actual things to talk about and they can stop, creating conversations. Even after the RJ extension happened, like I saw, like that should just be a moment where everyone's happy. We should all just be celebrating. Like, no, it's not even a figure. Like you said, people said, oh, you shouldn't max and blah, blah. There's arguments about that. There's really no argument about 4 years, 120. Like, everybody should be good. We should all be happy. It shouldn't be now this argument about, oh, like they were going to trade him or, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, what is his value or what kind of, like he was being offered. And it's like, who cares? But I feel like people, and KD was right when he said the NBA fans don't like basketball. Like, it really seems like people don't like basketball, bro. Like that, the conversation should not be about all that. Now RJ Barrett is signed for 4 years, 120. The only discourse around RJ Barrett should be about what he's about to do in this coming season and going forward and how he possibly fits next to Donovan if we still make that move. But it shouldn't be about like, oh, what was he worth or why didn't we trade him or if they were going to trade him or not. None of that matters. I don't even understand the point of continuing to discuss things like that. I feel like that's a waste of space, time, air, conversation, my room and my mentions, all of it. Like, just cut it out, bro. Like, that's over. That stage of it is over. We should be rejoicing. This never, ever happens. Like, some of us, like, me in particular, like, and I know there's many more like me, have never seen this in our lifetime. Like, the Charlie Ward curse happened, what? I was like, Charlie Ward signed in 96, I think. I can't remember exactly what the year was, but whatever the year was, I was born in 94. So, like, for things like this to actually matter and, like, happen and for me to be able to experience them, we've never experienced this, whether it was in your lifetime or not. Like, in over 20 years, 25 years, we haven't made a pick and continue to give him the money and, keep him around. And so I feel like now I've felt like this for a minute. You have as well. Like, I honestly think that it's weird as a Knicks fan to not fully be behind RJ. I think it's very weird. I think it's very weird I don't tell people how to be a fan. I don't tell people how to root, whatever. But I think being a Knicks fan and not standing RJ is weird, especially now that we're locked into him for another 4 years. Like, we drafted this guy with the third pick, our highest pick since Ewing. He came in. RJ was a better defender than I thought he was going to be when he got here. Like, I did not expect defense out of RJ when he came in. I thought, like, he came in, he exceeded expectations in certain aspects. He's improved every single year. He really cares. He's embraced New York from the very beginning. He's embraced the work. He's embraced the process. And he's earned everything he's gotten. And so I just don't understand, like, what about all of that, especially if you watch him on a day-to-day basis and you see his mannerisms, you see how he performs, you see his improvement, you see what he works on, and you see his determination, his attitude, how he handles things, how he responds. I don't know how you watch that guy for 3 years and don't, like, fully support him and not fully be. I don't understand that. I can't wrap my head around it. I think it's weird, and I implore everyone out there now, especially that he's locked in for 4 years, 120 million. Support RJ Barrett, bro. Get behind RJ Barrett. Stand RJ Barrett. That's what it means to be a fan, right? I can't imagine, like, and not to say that he's like, but I can't imagine Grizzlies fans not standing Ja. Like, imagine being a Grizzlies fan and just being like, oh, Ja's overrated, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's none of those, I'm sure. There's probably zero Grizzly fans like that. And sure, Ja's done more in his career. Ja has done more in his career than RJ at this point, but like, by how much really? You know, like it's not really like a huge gap, I don't think. And just it's for any other. I'm just thinking that they were drafted at the same time. Like any player who was drafted to the team that he's on, and has performed for that team, and like I think that all fan bases get behind their players, and it's just weird to me that there's some people who kind of establish like their character trait on being the anti. And I really want everybody to let that go. I feel like we're poised to have a really great season. We have a young core around a real blue chip guy who really wants it, who puts the work in. And I'm excited to see what RJ does now. Like, I was already excited for year 4 RJ, but I think that year 4 RJ with that like, okay, like I'm the guy kind of thing, and also like the chip on his shoulder to go get those. Apparently, the incentives in the deal to take from 107 to 120 are for all-star appearances and all defense. So it's like I want to see RJ out there locking people up for that extra 13 mil. Like, I already know that RJ is going to be an all-star, and so I'm just excited about the prospects of that. And those are the conversations that I wish were being had after this happened, rather than arguing about Danny Ainge and what the deal was and the different kinds of permutations. I don't think that people understand, like, even if people are like, oh, it's rumor, like the report said he was offered so clearly. And it's like, even if he was offered, like first of all, we've seen no shortage of, like, we've seen a million different reports. There's been a report about literally everything from everyone. We've also seen the media be wrong on multiple accounts in the Knicks offseason. Like our draft night was one of the most terribly covered things I've ever seen. But now all of a sudden, anything the media says is law, even though we were being covered improperly. And Danny Ainge has used the media for this trade more than anyone's ever used the media for a trade. But we just got to run with what the media says. And I just don't get that, bro. Like, if he was offered, then it was clearly a leverage play. I don't know. My source is common sense. That's what I go with. It would make sense. It's right there. And so if RJ was offered, there's probably a bunch of permutations with this trade of, okay, you can have this many picks in this player, or this many picks in that player, whatever. And so if they put RJ on the table for a deal that they knew Ainge wouldn't accept, that he clearly didn't accept, and it was part of a leverage play, I don't think that means that RJ, like, I think anyone with the brain knows that RJ wasn't going to Utah in this Donovan Mitchell trade. And now we have 120 million to believe, 120 million reasons to believe that they're invested in him and he's not going anywhere. So that's all we should be talking about.
Yeah, no, I share those same sentiments pretty exactly. I think I get frustrated with a lot of the way people intake media online, because it perplexes me to watch who believes who about what and how things either get misread or people aren't able to read what's actually happening sometimes. Like, the media's job, although it's generally to be correct in sports media, you're getting these sources from agents or the teams themselves. Occasionally you get it from players, right? So generally, like, the rule of thumb for a lot of these guys is they get stuff, right, under certain conditions, whatever it may be, and certain teams or whatever use the media different ways. Some people use it to just actually give you an update, and it's very simple. Some people, like Danny Ainge, like to put different things out at different times, all the times. Okay, well, they're not dealing with the Knicks anymore. They're talking to the Hornets. They're talking to whoever else they were talking to. Okay, well, and then what happened? Right? Within a week, the Knicks have re-engaged, right? The Knicks and Jazz have re-engaged in talks. Okay, so you probably weren't talking to the Hornets all that seriously. Like, is there a difference between talking to, like, actively, we're actively discussing all these packages, we're focused on working with the Hornets, or did the Hornets call one time and we're like, is Donovan Mitchell available? He is. What do you want from him? You don't know? All right, get back to me. We'll figure it out. We'll work on this. And then you hang up, right? That's not what happened, right? It's probably a simple check-in. There's a difference between, like you said, a myriad of picks and packages. Danny Ainge could have laid out a package where RJ Barrett was involved, right? And then been like, that's one I really want. it could be true, it could not be true. But Danny Ainge is probably, again, it's not that we don't think a package was discussed. It's more, was it really offered? If RJ Barrett and like 3 or 4 picks and whoever else was in if it was really offered, do you think he would be extended with the Knicks right now, or he'd be in Utah? If it was really being offered, especially when up to this point, it was difficult in all these reports. Again, this is just me. There's been so many things this summer that I understand if everyone, including myself, maybe I just don't know how to make sense of things anymore. But to me, it seemed clear because they were ever having a tough time, including like Obi or anyone, right? Aside from Grimes. And it was for like 5 picks, right? It was like what seemed to be the starting like thereabouts number. So you really mean to tell me like Grimes as like the main young guy going back and 5 picks and RJ and 3 picks? It seems like sort of a no-brainer that you would just take the RJ guy, right? But Danny Ainge wouldn't do that because Danny Ainge doesn't want to pay RJ Barrett right now because he wants to have wiggle room for the future. So do we believe that the Knicks were actually offering it? Do we believe that it was actually there, like really on the table to be picked up by the Jazz and that's it? The trade's agreed on? I don't believe that personally. I just think it was more like it was discussed, it was offered, and I don't know about offered. It was discussed, it was brought up. However you want to talk about it, but I just don't think it was all that serious. And I think even if it was, they're not trading him now. He's now extended. So I think, like Shaun said, it's all very silly. And I think at the end of the day, too, sometimes we don't have to have these long running debates. It's just like I feel this way about a current event, and then we're gonna have something new tomorrow. Like we don't always gotta like. It's not that wild, man. Like sometimes, like I feel like, are people new to Twitter? Are people new to tweets? Are people new to like, oh, I could read this and maybe it's in a different tone. Maybe you know what I mean? Like just use your brains a little bit, man. It's not that hard. We're just here to talk basketball and tell you about our feelings on it. It's not all that wild. It really isn't. But end of the day, he signed. Hopefully, we get some more good news soon. I thought it was a reasonable deal. I don't know where. I don't have some fancy stat for everybody about where it ranks him for his earnings amongst wing players that have scored X amount or whatever the normal thing is. But like, I have a good feeling he's getting a pretty reasonable rate for where he's at in his career and what he's probably going to end up doing. We saw him close the year on a really good run, obviously, as being more of the focal point. Ended up averaging 20 points on the year, which felt like a discount to what he was doing from January on because he was scoring 23, 24, 25 a night regularly. So I'm not saying he's going to put that up again this season, but like, yeah, I do expect now to see. Now you have to score 20 again. That seems like a no-brainer to me. And are you going to get 21, 22? Where are we going to tap out at, points per game over the year? Because that is a big indicator, especially for all-star and things like that. You got to score. It's the name of the game. Sorry, like there's more to it. I know, everybody. We want to talk about the assists, the defense, whatever. Sure. Not going to be an all-star if you're not scoring 22, 23 points or more games. Just generally, and if you are not doing that, you have to have like what? Double-digit assists, like something wild, right? That's always how it gets you. You got to do a lot of a stat. It's just the way it works, man. He's going to score. That's what he's going to end up doing. But he can play defense, hopefully we see it more consistently. I like that it was added in there for a bonus or whatever, the incentive to get him up towards the 120. I think we saw it a lot more the second year. Last year felt like more flashes, but the consistency came back a little bit, as the year went on. But just want to see it game to game now. I have real expectations for him. I always hold him to a high level with those expectations because I think we've always seen the kind of player that we knew he was going to be all around, and the way that he takes the game so seriously. So I know it's not like pressure or anything, but why wouldn't you expect him to score a bunch next year? Why wouldn't you expect him to be a good defensive player next year? Like why wouldn't you? I mean, if anything, I'm almost the only thing I would say that I thought I'd see more of is the assists, but I have to take that with a grain of salt because of the way the offense is run, of course. So I'd like to see those assists go up, but I don't want to like hamper him or I feel like that's the only thing that we haven't really seen scratch the surface yet. But I do expect him to be a good, consistent defensive player next year. No 2-week gaps. This is your 4th year. You're getting paid. Like let's play some real defense consistently. And I think we should expect that given the stuff with Randall last year. I think it was obvious when it bothered the team, and I think RJ obviously is a smart guy. I think he I think he knows what he just saw for an entire season, and I think he knows he's in a similar boat of now getting paid and being under more scrutiny, more eyes on him. Don't let it happen. Just play good defense, man. You're gonna get burned some games, right? It's not like every game you're gonna play 82 games of all world defense. You're gonna get burned sometimes, man. People are gonna cook you. It's the NBA. But are you not lost? Are you doing your job? Do you look like you're playing with energy? I think we can start to get these things from him now moving forward. But I expect really just that because I think the scoring's gonna keep coming. He gets to the line more. He makes his threes more. These things have been improving over time. I just expect it to keep going up. I expect him to get more drives, more free throws, whatever. I think the points are going to come very easily. That's why I'm not worried about it or focused on it all that much. It's more, are you going to become like a 5 assist guy? That'd be a big one for me. I predicted 25-5 player for him coming into the NBA. I'd like to see that 5 assists. It doesn't need to be that fun round number, but can we get over 4? Can we get it towards 5? Like that's when you start to really get into like fun playmaking wing territory. But I think for sure this year, I expect the defense. I know the points will come. I expect the defense, and I would really like to see an increase, with his playmaking volume. But that's my only like expectations. I'm not trying to be like he's got to be an all-star this year. They gotta make the playoffs as a 4 seed this year. He's not worth the money. Like I hate those conversations. Let's just
Oh, and there's going to be a lot of that.
so many, even with the Randall. Oh, Randall got paid, and after that performance, it's just like guys, like I get it, but like I mean, it's an exhausting way to think about life. You have to always think about a 5-game playoff series. It's like there's other ways that we can keep evaluating. Like time moves on. So I just focus on the personal stuff from RJ, and I think the rest will come.
Yeah, I said after last season that I fully expected him to average 23 to 25 a game. But I also live in this reality now where I fully expect Donovan Mitchell to be the Knick. So without Donovan Mitchell, I fully expect RJ to average 23 to 25 points a game. With Donovan Mitchell, I would say I would expect between like 21 and 23 maybe. But either way, I think that scoring wise, he'll be doing a lot better. I would like for him to improve from the free throw line. I'd like him to be at least like a 75% free throw shooter. I don't think that's unrealistic. More consistency from 3, more off the dribble threes. I feel like we'll probably get. I'd like to see him be able to operate consistently in that mid-range area, just even a little bit more this season. And then defensively, like you said, he's got to show up every night, and we know what RJ is capable of as a defender, and so I expect to see like his capabilities expand, but also for it to be done on a consistent basis. I mean, when he had Jason Tatum in jail, held him under 30%. He held Zach LaVine to 30% twice. He's a really good on-ball defender. He looks even stronger now. Like RJ's always been super strong, but he looks like he's gotten even stronger. And so, I'm really excited. And the thing about RJ, for a lot of guys, we see a lot of what they're doing in the off season. We see them all over the place. We see them here. We see them there. We see them in the gym. We don't normally see much of RJ, but we really didn't see any of RJ this summer. Like we saw 0 RJ. There's like that one clip of him like, dunking or whatever, like in that in that workout. But otherwise, we haven't really seen a lot. So I really think that he's going to come back. I mean, coming in the year 4, I really love the fact that like his efficiency wasn't super high when he was, the number 1 option toward the end of the year and averaging 25 points a night. But part of it was just the way defenses were loading up on him. It was an adjustment, things like that. And I'm glad that he got that experience last year. Like, I'm glad that he went into the offseason having the experience of being somebody that people were game planning for, having the experience of having defenses loaded up against you so that he knows kind of what to expect coming into year 4. And I think that's going to be a huge part of his elevation. And I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more excited. And I think that RJ can be an all-star this year. Like you said, he doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be, oh, if he's not an all-star right away. If we don't become the best team in the league right away, then he got overpaid. But prepare yourselves for stupid conversations. They're going to happen. People are going to, people have been doubting him this whole time. It's crazy. Like, while he was playing, like that second half stretch last year, nobody really said anything. People were very quiet. All the RJ haters, I was literally begging them to come outside. Like, they were nowhere to be found. And so now the season ended, there's no basketball being played, and everybody feels safe to come outside and throw their little quips and stupidity. Like there's been a lot of talk, a lot is being said, and I just can't wait for him to go out there and prove that he's worth every dollar of that 4 years, 120 million and more, and that he's really him, and he's the force to be reckoned with in this league. And it's really nice seeing the Christmas, seeing the Christmas lineup and everything, and seeing RJ on the bill as the headliner, and with next to all those other guys who are playing on Christmas and stars. And it's just like, yeah, like this is who he is. This is who he's about to be. Star J Barrett is here. Headliner J is here. And it's gonna be a glorious time.
Yeah, so we'll see, but very excited for RJ Barrett. At La Casa de Maggio, it's big news. I had that Amari signed jersey from like the 2010, but right before Melo got there. I got the jersey signed by the team. That's been in the photo in the jersey frame for like a decade, basically since I got it. I got a signed RJ jersey. I put it up in the box. If you're wondering why I didn't just get two, they're very expensive. It's like $150 a frame. I'm not spending $150 on another frame right now. Thus, it was a very ceremonial event to take the other jersey down and put in the RJ one. It was what is it? Changing of the guard, whatever, passing of the torch. So I had a big moment. But maybe one day I'll make a little bit more money and I'll get that second frame. But not yet. But yeah, it's time for the RJ Barrett era to really get underway here. First couple years were finicky for different reasons, finding his way, finding his path. But I truly believe it's going to be a special year. I just feel like putting up 18 2 years ago in limited reps and opportunities, and then last year finding a way to average 20, and what a mess of a season it ended up being. I thought was pretty important and pretty telling for him. Again, he didn't even have full reign of the offense or full, an offense really optimized around him. So it's all just kind of finding ways to get his points really right now. So I'm hopeful in a world where, hopefully beyond Tibbs, somebody who's tailoring things for RJ, and hopefully Donovan Mitchell, who we'll speak about more in just a second. But I think it's going to be a very fruitful time for RJ. This next contract of his, I think it's going to be, I think it's already a bargain. But again, I've always been RJ biased. I think it's a bargain. I think it'll remain a bargain the entire duration of his deal. I think the fact that it's under 130 is like a home run for the Knicks. As far as I'm concerned, personally, I'm always going to want to see RJ get paid. But I think this is yet another fair deal. They've given a lot of fair deals aside from the Fournier one. So it's good to see. It's good to see that, for the most part, they've gotten these things right. I thought the Brunson deal was great. Even the Randall deal. I know people don't like the Randall deal to some degree now, but I thought really honestly it was pretty. Even if you look, he's like the 50th, 56th, like something like that, highest paid. It's a regular NBA contract. Maybe it's a little bit on the high end, but you can't sit here acting like we're getting scammed. Like sometimes guys don't play well. I don't know what to tell you. Like he had a career worst season after you paid him. Look, it's awful. There's no defense of it, but doesn't mean we got like this albatross of a contract. Like at the end of the day, this is a reasonable bunch of deals. It's just the Fournier was the only one you gotta never gonna let
78 million American dollars for Evan Fournier.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're gonna TKW offices when we finally open up. It's gonna be the first tweet frame that you see. Yeah. So, but yeah. But I do want to change directions. Because Evan Fournier, this is a beautiful segue.
Beautiful.
Seems to fit so perfectly into the plans that would involve Donovan Mitchell coming to New York. It seems like any deal sort of has to involve his salary. Now, this is where all the Evan Fournier truthers would aha me and say, well, if that deal is so awful, how come, we're using it in a deal to get Donovan Mitchell? And to that, I say he just simply makes a dollar amount that works. If it wasn't him, we'd be trying to force Randall onto Utah a little bit more aggressively. I don't know. You know what? I'm sure, but like, it's not like a 4D chess move to overpay Fournier and then it work out that he's the salary filler to go out to a team who doesn't care who comes back. It's not like a win for Utah to get Fournier. They're not like excited about getting 32, 33-year-old overpaid Evan Fournier. So it's not the aha moment you think it is. But he is going to go live in Utah is what's going to happen here. And I find that I find that very good. I think that works out for us very well. This is more than just getting Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think there's going to be a bigger upgrade from going from Evan Fournier to Donovan Mitchell. I think that is it's just a tremendous, tremendous move. So I would like to see it. But Shaun, I would like to just ask you at this point, with all the smoke and all the almost fire, where on a percentage scale would you place the Donovan Mitchell trade as, I wouldn't say being done, but in terms of you think it's definitely going to happen? Like what's your confidence percentage here?
I would say 105%. Like, I've been abundantly confident in this trade happening the entire time. From the time that it was from the Rudy Gobert deal, or maybe even slightly before it. Like, I've been very adamant. That video is, I think, from June or maybe early July, where I'm just like, nobody else really has the assets we would have for this trade to be able to pull it off. And we've seen for months now that be the exact case. All these other teams that get brought up falling away. And now with the RJ being taken off the table and us still having the best asset, like there's nowhere else for them to turn. Training camp is quickly approaching. No pun intended, because he's not going anywhere. But training camp is right around the corner, and they have to get this deal done by Kent Trent. We saw it with the Rockets when they had Steven Silas. You can't start a new regime with a coach and have a disgruntled star who you spent all summer trying to trade, and be trying to rebuild. You can't have your one foot in the rebuild door and one foot in the Donovan Mitchell era door. It just doesn't work, and it'll be a very terrible situation to start off with your young coach, who's a brand new coach, one of the youngest coaches in NBA history. That's not how you want to start. So I think that the Jazz want to commit to their rebuild and what they have going on, start with a clean slate. And we're the only team that really gives them the opportunity to do so. And after the RJ news came out, then they tried to throw some weak report out there about how the Wizards feel like they have the assets or whatever to make a deal happen. And then somebody pointed out, like, right away, and I absolutely I love when I hear a lot of conversation and discourse that happens on Knicks Twitter, NBA Twitter, whatever it may be. But I love some good facts, man. I really love some good facts. And where is it? Knicks feed and the Big Steppers came out right away, because it was my first thought, but he put it like really with the facts. And he's like, the Wizards can't move any of their 23 through 27 picks and are only capable of trading their 2029 first round pick, because the Knicks, of all teams, have their protected first. Good luck. And so that's been happening all summer, where Danny Ainge's been trying to drum up interest by putting in other teams. But like, the thing about it is, we can see what those teams can offer you, and it's not good. So you're not really creating any leverage here. You're further painting the picture that it's only us. And that's been a great thing. And today, I think Jay Nicky may have broken it. I don't know. I didn't see anybody else say it first. But Donovan Mitchell removed Utah Jazz guard from both his Twitter and Instagram bio, and they were 100% in there yesterday. And so a lot of people like to do the thing now where it's like, oh, you guys react to anything on social media, blah, blah, blah. It's funny watching people who say that, who react to anything on social media. But a lot of people like to say that, but it's just like, come on, man, what reason is there for him to wake up in the midst of trade talks and, just be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I no longer want to be represented as Utah Jazz guard in my bio on either social media account. And so, I feel like this thing is about to happen, man. Like, I don't know. Like, part of me feels like, what time is the Mets game today? What time is the Mets game with Knicks night? It almost seems like it's like, because for him to remove it from his bio, that almost makes me feel like the deal has already like happened. Like, almost. Like, I don't know, but it would be really nice for them to announce that, and just for him to be making the first pitch. One way or another, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, I definitely am 100% confident, 105% confident, 110% confident, whatever number I said, that Donovan Mitchell will be a Knick. How do you feel?
I'm very much in Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, you are a Knick territory. How could you not? I don't know how anybody could not at this point. I'm sorry. It just seems like it's more inevitable than anything I've seen in quite some time. When there's this much buildup for this many months, and it always comes back and connects to the same two teams, it's sort of a formality of we all know what's going to happen here. Could we just get it over with? I think, to your point about him taking the thing out the bio, again, not normally do we get carried away with these things, but not just asking the good people listening, well, when has that ever? I just want to ask you guys, like, when has that ever meant something like good? Like when for the person it was happening to, like when does it ever happen like in a good way for like the Utah Jazz to or whichever NBA team to get their name removed from a star player's bio? When has that ever been good for them? When has it ever been good when someone clears their IG of all like let's say the Jazz pictures are next, right? Like he just wipes it, he starts fresh. When has that ever been good? We've seen that though, and normally when it happens with players, it means that guy's gone. He deleted the pictures of the Blazers because he's gone. He deleted the pictures of the Pistons because he's got like wherever he was leaving. That's always what happens. It's out the bio. The pictures are gone. It's like a 1 month turnover of a process, and then it happens. So, but aside from even that and whatever you want to call those like the emoji eyes incidents, but really, I feel like he's been very front facing about doing stuff in New York this year. Not that maybe word has not been out before about when he's hosted a camp or things like that. That stuff does get reported on. But the amount of times I've seen just things or updates about him in New York taking batting practice with the Mets, or like you said, the Mets got the Knicks day coming up, or like being at the game when Jalen Brunson was at the game, just being at all of the Mets games in general, tweeting incessant. I mean, he always tweets about the Mets, but it seems like a lot more tweets. I haven't done any statistics or research, but a lot more tweets about the Mets lately. It just seems like there's more happening with him.
He was in the Garden for the Rangers playoffs games. Come on.
He's been in New York top to bottom. He's been at every New York event you could be at. I just don't know what else needs to happen at this point, aside from a single Woj tweet and a press conference right afterwards, because that's really where we're at here. I think he's 200% a Nick. I think we're just waiting on the details. I think that's all that we've been waiting on is the details of a package and the day it's going to happen on. I said to you, off the pot, I would almost be embarrassed if the trade didn't happen now. That's how much I'm now in on believing it, but also really believing it just makes sense with everything that we've seen. So I'm probably all in. I hope it happens because I would not, I don't want to be embarrassed or feel a certain way. I would like to just enjoy that we were right again and just ride off into the sunset with RJ Barrett, Donovan Mitchell in the fold, Jalen Brunson as our starting point guard. And whatever the rest of the other team looks like, I don't really care. If Obi stays and he becomes the starting power forward, great. If Obi's in the trade, it's okay. We'll find another power forward. I'm sure there's other guys. Whatever happens, if like those three, and then like I think Mitch is probably staying in every scenario because especially he can't get traded.
Mitch is locked in because of the contract.
Right. So you basically get, to me, assuming you could move Randall at some point in the next calendar year, I'll say, right? Assuming Fournier is going to be gone, you get Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, insert whoever at power forward. Everybody's going to assume Obi. I'm not sure he doesn't go in the trade. I just want to be safe. And then Mitchell Robinson's locked in. Mitch, RJ, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson is like, to me, that's a fun new direction. I don't know what's going to happen per se, but I think, okay, I see two guys who could score very well. I see one guy who's working on his scoring every year. We know he can give you 20 in RJ, right? So I just don't want to put him in the very well bucket yet. He's got to pick up the efficiency a little bit more. But I do think he's getting there, right? So you got three guys ultimately over the next 3-4 years. You're probably those are going to be your bucket getters, right? So I feel like just off of that, like the offense is going to look somewhat better, somewhat more creative, just because those guys do different things. And then Mitch is your clean up the messes guy. Low usage, just going to hang around and do Mitch stuff, right? Maybe some more misses, more perimeter players and shooters, but he's just going to do Mitch stuff. Hopefully they give him more pick and rolls. I think that's a rock solid group of four. I don't know which youngsters are going to stay, but you're going to assume all of them aren't going to go. So you got a couple of guys you pick and play off the bench. Maybe Quickly, maybe Rhymes. I don't know who's going to stay. Just feel like it's in a good spot. I like that team. It always looks better when you get top talent, man. You need top talent to win, like period. So get that. RJ is now paid, locked in for 4 years. Go get him a top guy. You got Jalen Brunson locked in. Mitchell Robinson's locked in. Just go get him Donovan Mitchell now. Go get him the one star player. Now you go get your signing. This is why when we tell people, Shaun, it's not all about, oh, well, we can't make that trade now. It doesn't make us title contenders. No, but all of a sudden, this starts to be a more sensible team where you're like, oh, I can look at this team and probably expect playoffs versus like, I hope they make it. Like I would look at that and go, okay, now you got to make the playoffs for sure. Like this should very easily be a top 6 team. If not, you guys are really fucking it up. Like, but make the playoffs, right? Versus last year, even I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I think they make it, but there's some trade off here that I don't like. Like, I wasn't big on Fournier playing big minutes, right? But a guy like Donovan Mitchell, maybe it goes better for you. So it's just like I feel like there's more of an identity being fleshed out with this direction. So when they get the Mitchell trade done, and it's just why I think they do. I think that there's probably going to be some pressures to get a star soon. This rebuild's been going on for a while. You got your young pieces taken care of. It's the next step of the team building process is to go get a big upgrade. There's nothing wrong with spending money. We're the most valuable franchise in the NBA. There's nothing wrong with like going to get the big money guy, the big star at some point. We should have that expectation again. Like we should want to get the stars. Like it's not. We've been doing it the right way. You can't pay, keep and pay every single young player, right? But you can pay an RJ Barrett. You could pay a Mitchell Robinson. You could pick a couple of them to stay for the long run, and then around them, go get the upgrade. So I think he's a Knick. I think they just got to call it. They got to announce it. I'm going stir crazy. It's August 30th. Announce this thing. We need this news. We need this to be over. We need to enter training camp knowing he's on the roster. I think. Would you agree with me? I think all parties probably want that done. With as much reporting has been going on this specific trade for so long, all summer. What did you say it would behoove them to get this shit done? You can't go into training camp with this. You can't go into the regular season with this now.
At all. They and the thing is, like, the Jazz are the team that the pressure is on in terms of going into training camp. Because if we go into training camp, we're just going into training camp with our team. But they would be going into training camp with getting asked the question, the guy who's there all the time and the new coach, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, they've got to make this deal happen. It definitely behooves everyone to make it happen as soon as possible. And we're right there. Like, we're right. Leon's done an excellent job. This has been a masterclass. After this deal happens, I never want to hear a bad word about Leon Rose or the front office again. That's enough. I've been in the trenches for them, staunchly defending them because I feel like they've deserved it. And now that there should be no discourse. It's over. Like, everybody should understand the front office did their job. They're doing an excellent job, and just put the trust in them because Leon has handled this amazingly. Like, imagine what Scott Layden would have given Danny Ainge. Like, imagine what Glenn Groma would have given Danny Ainge. Like, we would have had no roster left. They would have given away 7th Street. So I'm just really glad that, Leon has played it this way, played his cards right. And, he never folded. And it's beautiful. And, he was aware of what the leverage was in the situation and allowed himself to play to the leverage. And everybody talks about, Danny Ainge being a big, bad boogeyman of trades. But Leon has stood firm, and it's been great. I'm very proud. And yeah, like, even when you were talking about Mitchell Robinson, like, I feel like he's, when I watch Donovan Mitchell film and watch highlights and stuff like that, I'm just like, wow, like, the amount of gravity this guy has is insane. And like, he's a great playmaker. And I want people to realize Rudy Gobert is not good, like, at basketball offensively, like, at all, really. At all. And I don't think he's anywhere near the athlete that Mitchell Robinson is. So it's just like, things open up so much more for Mitch already with Jalen Brunson being here. But now with Donovan Mitchell, I think that Mitch would be, a force to be reckoned with, just catching mad lobs, cleaning up, like you said, doing a great job defensively, being our anchor. And then on top of having Mitch, we've also got Isaiah Hartenstein locked in, who can't be traded because of his contract. And we've got that same kind of rim protection off the bench. I just think that they've done a pretty good job, like you said, assembling a team so that once you make that move, now you're able to take a step forward. And yeah, we definitely be a playoff team. My only gripe and my only issue with my excitement about Donovan Mitchell and everything, it's not whether he'll be a Knick or not. It's like, damn, on opening night, like, whose jersey do I wear? And I still I feel like I'm gonna rock with RJ just because it's opening night and it's RJ. So I feel like I'm still gonna wear RJ's jersey. But I'm looking forward to throwing my Donovan Mitchell jersey in the rotation for sure.
Yo, a 45 Knicks jersey is gonna go hard. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I don't want to. I don't want to. You know how hard it is to buy one Knicks jersey, and for that guy to still be around like a year later, 2 years later. Like, I got the RJ jersey. I got an authentic. I was very happy, and I was like, there was a part of me that was just like, it feels like the kiss of death a little bit. Like, you can't get these guys jerseys because something happens, right? I got KP, and this is the year before all the nonsense happened, and I was like, I think they're gonna pay him when he comes back from injury. I'll get the jersey. I got it. Everything starts to happen. I was like, they're not gonna actually trade this guy, and then they did it, and I was like, whoa. So after that, I was on a nobody's getting bought, period, right? And then RJ I cracked. I was like, I'll buy RJ before the extension. That was my rule. I wanted to do today basically to buy the jersey, but I cracked. I said, all right, we'll just get it ahead of time. And now he's still here, man. It's a good feeling, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to jump the gun on Donovan Mitchell and getting excited, even visualizing it in my head, and for it to be taken away from me. I've seen the Photoshops, the 4 and the 5 look too good, too straight. It looks too meant to happen, and it's bothering me how in love I am with this idea, and I need it to happen. I can't do this anymore. My heart can't take it.
I've never liked the number 45 at all, but it's so cold in the Photoshops. Like, man, I can't wait. That's my main gripe. It's like, damn. It's like I want to be able to support Donovan Mitchell in his first game as a Knick, but I can't not wear an RJ jersey to the home opener. But don't worry, Donovan. I feel like I'll be at the Garden plenty, so I'll be repping. I'll have that 4-5 on. I change for a 20.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, what else? What else do we got then? I think that's the latest, right? We're caught up. RJ got paid. Mitchell's inevitable as far as I'm concerned. We're just waiting on the news. And when does training camp start officially?
I think the 21st of September.
Yeah, it's that third week normally, right?
Yeah. Man.
Soon, man.
Yeah. A team with and especially if I don't know how realistic it is they move Randall. I do believe that if we get Donovan Mitchell, like Julius Randle should be moved. I also think that he's capable of being a good basketball player. With Mitchell being here, I just don't know if he'd be willing to be the third, fourth option. I just think it would make the most sense to get rid of him. But in a reality where Evan Fournier leaves in the Donovan. First of all, Evan Fournier being off this roster, I'm ready to go for this season. Like 100%. If Evan Fournier leaves and Donovan Mitchell comes in, we're in for an amazing season. If Julius Randle's also out of the way and Obi's still here and he's able to be the starting power forward and Melo can come in and be his backup or whatever, you send Julius to Phoenix and get back Jay Crowder in a second round pick, I really don't care. Bring Jay Crowder in the backup Obi. Don't give a damn. I'm just very excited. I'm ready to go. I really feel like I truly believe this is going to be one of the best years of our lives. And when everybody even when people complain about, with Donovan Mitchell, what are we going to do next? I'm not there. I don't understand why. I know the Knicks PTSD has a lot of factors and a lot of effects. And, it causes people to always be star chasing because it's like for a team that hasn't acquired a star since the Carmelo trade and not few and far between before that, for us to be on the verge of acquiring a star and everybody be talking about how we're going to get the one after that is insane to me. Just get the star, get the talent in the building, and then be a good team from there. We have a very young core that we have around him, like you just said. You got RJ, you got Donovan Mitchell, you got Jalen Brunson. That's three-level scorers, especially as RJ continues to improve. You got Mitch cleaning up. You got whoever stays. We already have a pretty solid bench in place, and that's a very young team. RJ Barrett is 22 years old, so there's no cap ceiling. But even when people are like, that's a second-round exit. 2013 was one of the best years of my life. Literally one of the best years of my life, and we were a second round exit. But people are acting like we're the Spurs. I would love a second round exit. I mean, granted, I want to go further than that, but winning a playoff series would be very, very nice. I can't. Outside of 2013, we haven't won a playoff series in this millennium, and people are being uppity talking about, we wouldn't be. Shut up. Just be excited, man. So with the RJ news that came out, just be excited. Look at the positives, focus on it, move forward. Don't create, scenarios in your head and reasons to be negative about it. That's weird. Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting energy. Donovan Mitchell, he gets here. Be excited. Be excited about the prospects coming up. We're in for a great time. This is a great time to be a Knicks fan, and it's up. It's up and it's stuck. And where's the Cardi B?
Nah, for sure. Because I couldn't agree more with that. I think for a while there was always good reason to be pessimistic, right? But then at a certain point, it's like I find it funny how positive this fan base could be when there's nothing to be positive about. and who they choose to believe in and why they choose to buy into certain players or guys or whoever, right? Even front office people, coaches. And then that team could win 20 games, 25 games, doesn't matter. We got this guy, he's just amazing, whatever, right? And then doing a little bit better. We got a couple of those guys already. We don't have to lie anymore about players. We don't got to make stuff up. There were some dark times, right? You got an RJ in the bag. Things are going okay, even if you don't fully believe in RJ. 20 points his third year, okay, 7 rebounds, 3-4 assists, pretty good, right? Some good defense, right? Objectively, right? Things are going pretty well. Maybe you don't make the playoffs last year like we had hoped, right? Back-to-back years, but okay, whatever, right? We're still cruising. We're in on talks for getting another star player. Seems like a star wants to come here, and then people always find ways to be like, but not that star. but hold on, you got to wait because what if Luka's not going to come here? Just like what if LeBron? Just like what if KD? Just like what if? Just at some point, it's okay, man. It's okay to just go make a trade and get a good player, and then the player's here, and then you could just be like, well, this is a 45, maybe a 50 win team every year. No, okay, we'll see what happens, and you don't got to worry about every year. Like, but are we gonna win a ring? It's like, brother, like you said, could we enjoy a second round appearance? Could we maybe enjoy a second round victory? Like, do we always got to worry about? I mean, the rings culture that a segment of this fan or just sports fan bases in general these last decade or so is just I feel bad for you guys, man. Like, yeah, of course, everybody wants to fucking win. Everybody wants to win all the time, but there's only one person who could win every year, and normally we're not even winning the playoffs. So could we just start with getting to the playoffs consistently, winning consistently, and just having very talented players? Because aside from all the winning, we just don't have talented players, especially the ones that can score the basketball. Why is it such a bad thing every time we want them? Every time. But then when we stink, then you guys want to you wonder where the positivity is, where whatever is in these prospects, these players that ever turn into anything, right? We're in the news now to potentially get somebody. Let's just get them. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good. I don't know why we have to pretend like a guy who's amongst his playoff numbers are special. It's like him, Michael Jordan, 3 other guys, right? Why do I have to convince you that a guy who's had a career of pretty long or longish playoff runs, he's been in the playoffs more than we have as a franchise in his 5 years in Utah, right? And us as a franchise, the last 20 years or so, just in his Utah tenure. What are we talking about, man? He scores in the playoffs. It's the point of the game. I feel like having to explain why you should be excited about a star scorer in basketball coming to your team, especially one that is still young and hasn't entered his prime yet and is already a notable playoff company. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain that to people as fans. You know what I mean? And there's somebody who you always need to convince, and that bothers me. You're not watching the game for the right reasons. If it doesn't just make you have fun, man, it should be fun. What we do should be fun. We talk about the Knicks, we talk about basketball. Should all be very fun. Turn on the TV. Donovan Mitchell's on. You have a chance to watch a New York Knicks score 50 points tonight. Every time he steps onto the floor, you have a true chance of winning every single game now. It's not this is going to be a rough part of the schedule. We should win games. You're here. And if they don't win games, and if he does stink, there's plenty of time to be negative about it then. But there's no reason at this moment in time to assume that would be what would happen. It's very troubling to me. People who think you're going to get a scorer who makes a lot of money, and there's always this aura of well, that's it. We're going to win 33 games a year and go nowhere with Donovan Mitchell. It's why be a fan then? Why root for a team if you don't want the best talent for the point of the game of basketball to play for one of the most valuable franchises in basketball and in sports? Why wouldn't you want that here? A version of that, because it always seems like that's the player that people don't want, and that's what bothers me. Who are you guys rooting for to just chuck up bricks and not score the ball? What is it that you're looking for in a player? That this perfect player that always eludes you? I'm sorry, we don't draft LeBron. It doesn't happen every year, man. We can get the other very, very, very good players too. It's okay. Just see what happens. We'll worry about the rest of the team build after, but just be excited about a single thing. A single thing is all that I ask of you guys. But truly. But on that note, we're going to leave you guys. Just wanted to give you a quick little update. Been a little while, since we hopped on, of course. I know Shaun and Dean did an excellent job the last time out, but it's just been a truly dead time with this Knicks stuff. But we will be back to the fold, especially now with training camp and everything else coming on. We will be rolling to more of a degree. But happy to be back. Happy RJ Barrett got paid. We'll be happier soon once the Donovan Mitchell trade happens. But seems like all things are changing towards good things for us moving forward in this next month or so as a team, as a franchise. So should be a fun season. I'm excited about it. And just good to be back talking Knicks, man.
Yes, pleasure to be back. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tapping in. And once again, don't be miserable. There's a lot of people out there being miserable. Don't be miserable. Don't fall into it. We have a lot to be excited about, and let's spend our time being excited about it. And like Kyle said, if we got to be miserable when the time comes, we're really good at misery. We've lived it our entire lives. Like some merely adapted to the darkness. We were born in it. So like we know how to be miserable. We can do it when the time comes. But for now, let's just be excited about what can happen.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, we'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Take it easy.
Adios.